We're joined now by Dr. Abhishek Manu Singhvi, who's been a key player, obviously, as a Congress leader, also as a lawyer who's been tracking this, very, very closely, the entire process of whether disqualification can take place, the circumstances in which the last government in Maharashtra fell. So bottom line, Dr. Singhvi, if you look at what has happened in the Supreme Court, would you agree that this is essentially that Eknath Shinde keeps his job and that there's a moral victory for Uddhav Thackeray?
First of all, the word only doesn't go with moral. It is certainly a moral victory. It is an ethical victory. It is a political victory. It is in a large measure, I would say 75% a legal victory which has been missed out. Now let me tell you why there are two facets. You are obviously talking about the glass 25 or 20% not filled. That is no status quo ante restored. But remember, every major issue was decided in our favor. Number one, the Speaker's decision recognizing a invalid whip is wrong. Secondly, the appointment of another whip is wrong. Thirdly, Uddhav Thackeray's whip is the correct one because he is the political party. Fourthly, the governor's decision to call a floor test is wrong and illegal. Now, I ask myself the first question, Vishnu, in answer to your question. What is left after these four major findings?
Yeah.
You have no ethical, moral or political or even legal right to do because they are all four legal findings. But now let me come to your other question. There is another important sentence in the judgment that the disqualification petitions pending now should be decided
exactly
within a reasonable period, quote unquote.
Yes, exactly.
Now, according to me, if you are the speaker, the new speaker, the current speaker, and my disqualification petition against XYZ is pending, and if you are bona fide and you take it up tomorrow, 1 week later, 2 weeks later, there is no decision you can arrive at except disqualify that XYZ. Why do I say that? Because the disqualification petition, Vishnu, is based on a violation of the whip, which has now been held to be legal and valid. Till now there was some confusion, right?
Right.
Now, if you know, Vishnu, without being a lawyer, you don't need to be a lawyer to know that. If you violate a whip, which is a whip of a political party, which has now been held to be the only recognized whip in the system, then you are on the face of it disqualified. There is no adjudication required. Now, I have therefore no doubt, as I predicted today in my press conferences, that the game now will be played, will be delay. The speaker will not take it up. The speaker will decide not to decide. It is going to be very difficult for the speaker to give a wrong decision. Either way, there will be a challenge. If you give a wrong decision or if you don't decide. And in that challenge, we have a chance of succeeding because with the whip now being clarified, there is no way in which this disqualification should not follow. So it's a much bigger victory than you think. It's more than 50%. It's more than 75%.
So, Dr. Singhvi, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the role of the governor because the Supreme Court said that he didn't have any objective material and that his exercise of discretion, that's obviously a key part of what a governor is authorized to do, was not in accordance with law. How significant is this in terms of, a remark or a comment on the functioning of the governor at the time?
Of course it is stinging. But, as you know, that the thick-skinned people, the sting does not register. I have no doubt that this kind of high-handedness will be repeated. I'll tell you now, there's another facet to this. What did the governor do? The governor directed a floor test. Now I know that Mr. Thackeray resigned before the floor test. But what was the decision of the governor for which he had no objective material? The direction to have a floor test was that decision.
Right.
That decision has been declared to be illegal. Namely, the foundation, the floor test, the governor had no material to direct a floor test.
Right.
If that foundation goes, even the fact that Uddhav Thackeray did not participate becomes largely meaningless. But we understand and we accept that he's not been restored. But the very foundation of the entire exercise is gone.
So,
therefore, the crux lies now, Vishnu, in a fair, quick decision by the speaker. A, if that decision is wrong, it will be challenged fast and promptly. B, if there is no decision or a decision to delay a decision, then also it will be challenged. So they are in a
No, but
fix.
Dr. Singhvi, just a clarification. The Speaker will decide now on disqualification until a court does, right, with a larger panel of judges. So if when you mention or when you say that, look, if the Speaker does not act in a finite period of time, you're going to go back to court, would that be before a larger bench of judges?
Not larger panel, it will be decided by judges. It will go, what the court has said today is that they do not decide disqualification themselves in the first instance. The first person to decide it has to be the Speaker. But the point is different. I am saying normally there can be no valid reason displayed in the order of the Speaker as to how he decides to dismiss the disqualification. Once the whip has been held to be valid as issued by Uddhav Thackeray or his group, then disqualification must follow.
Okay. Was it in
And
hindsight?
therefore the decision of a Speaker not doing what I am saying
Right.
would be so patently contrary. Of course, he's entitled to give it because he's buying time.
But in hindsight, was
challenge.
it a mistake?
And there'll be very good chance of success against that in the court.
Was in hindsight, was it a mistake for Uddhav Thackeray to have stepped down? Because it seemed the court seemed to suggest today that had he approached the court at that time, he would have gained relief.
Clearly, wisdom by hindsight is always 20/20.
Sure.
And we don't know the reason, etc. There is no need to go to the reason. Yes, had he not done it, perhaps, these speculative issues would not have arisen. But the point of the matter is that today there is a resounding victory in favor of the so-called Uddhav Thackeray faction or group. Today, anybody with shame, with less than thick-skinned in politics, with fairness, look at every institution, Vishnu, just for a minute. The highest institutions of the state are what? The governor, the speaker, and a central government which is pulling the strings.
Right.
Clearly, all this is happening by the central government acting as the master puppeteer for persons in the state who are acting as stooges or puppets.
Yeah.
That is really the takeaway.
Yeah.
Does it show the ruling BJP in a good light? It shows it in a very, very poor light.
Eknath Shinde said, and his interpretation of this is completely different. He says in democracy, importance is given to the majority, and in his interpretation, today's decision proves that the government that he formed was done legally and constitutionally. So he sees this judgment exactly opposite from how you're seeing it.
Why are we quibbling? There is a black and white judgment. Please read it. I believe I was told the speaker said it's only procedural irregularities. I think it sounds like Alice in Wonderland. Words will mean what I say they will mean. Does the speaker's decision declared illegal? Does the governor's decision declared illegal? A whip declared illegal? Gogable declared illegal? Sound to you like a procedural decision? Well, either you need education in law or you are Alice in Wonderland. And coming from a person who is exhibiting his premeditated bias, Speaker should never have got into it. It is showing a premeditated bias. The same applies to the Chief Minister. If he's saying that, he has either not read it or he's not been advised about it.
Dr. Singhvi, thanks very much for joining us.